Good morning and welcome to Channel 1 News Check on the 16th day of February 2021. Hope you're having a fruitful morning. It's time for us to check what is happening where you are. And today we will be discussing matter state of politics in the nation and more so on the political divide. We've seen a lot of people and mostly politicians engaging in scuffles and others. And of course the NCIC has been hot on their heels, of course, talking about fostering unity in the country. That is exactly what we'll be discussing, because looking at the country now, the political drumbeats keep on sounding better and better each and every day, and unfortunately the political temperatures are rising with that noise. And joining me in studio are two gentlemen who I'm quite sure will be having a very interesting conversation. On my immediate left, we have Dr. Danvas Makori, who is a National Cohesion and Integration Commission, NCIC Commissioner. Thank
you very much.
And Tom Ojanga, who is a political strategist, and it's always a pleasure having you.
Thank you very much.
Dan, I've never had an opportunity other than for the press conferences to have a one-on-one with you, but thank you, gentlemen, indeed, for coming. We are going to be looking at the political situation in the country, but as well as looking at matters politics. We've really had so many deaths of great political icons in the country. Kindly, in 1 minute each, we can perhaps touch on that.
I think, yeah, condolences to the Bonchari MP and his family, first of all, and the people of Bonchari for losing the MP, and also for Yusuf Haji and the family. I know them personally, work with them. And the people of Garissa and the country at large. I think we've lost, especially in Haji, a great icon, great man, statesman, who made a big difference in this country. And it's true, we've seen a number of them. Yesterday was on Chai's funeral. He passed away 2 weeks ago, I think. Yeah. So we're seeing, I think, what we're seeing is passing away. And for lack of a better word, the new generation of leaders need to rise up to receive the baton from the great leaders that are preceding us, the Chais and the Hajis. But congrats to them, but hopefully we can learn from them, the strengths and the weaknesses, and we can make a better country.
Indeed.
Yes.
Yeah, first, my condolences to the family of Senator Haji, who has done exemplary work for this country, particularly within the context of the BBI, which he did as his last engagement. Obviously, also the family of the Member of Parliament for Bonchari, and also the Chachais. I think we have, a constitutional process for replacing leadership. I mean, naturally, of course, for Nyachai, the baton has been handed over. Same to Senator Haji, the MP for Bonchari, unfortunately died in the middle of his term. So his replacement, of course, will be done according to the law and the process thereof. So I think it's unfortunate to lose a member of parliament right in the middle of this term, because then they have programs and projects that they promised the electorate to execute before the end of their term.
Yes.
But nevertheless, I think the system and the laws that we have, which are quite solid, will take care of that.
Indeed. Away from that, let's now delve into politics, and indeed you can be part of this conversation, and we always welcome your feedback. Remember, we are live on all our various social media platforms, that is Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and also on our KBC app. Of course, it's going to help you, and especially when you are on the move, or you are somewhere that is not conducive for you to have a television set, you can watch this newscast live and other programs that we have right here on KBC. My name is Njue, and Lensa Odingo will be helping us in the sign language interpretation. And perhaps to delve into the politics, perhaps what have really happened other than the transition of those political icons. The BBI, of course, the BBI is one of the things that has also risen the political temperatures in the country in the run-up to the 2022 succession politics. And we have the bill that was taken to all the 47 county assemblies. 3 have already passed, but we saw something that perhaps a lot of Kenyans didn't expect, or a lot of Kenyans expected, because we saw it was shut down in Baringo County. What can you say?
I think the question is not it being shut down. I mean, democracy. They have a right to choose to reject it or reject it. They're representative of the people. But I think it's the way it was done. We saw people exchanging blows.
Yes.
We saw people fighting, men and women, grown women, adults. And these are elected leaders. So I think the issue wasn't just the way it was done. I mean, the minimum threshold is 25. And so it's expected people will reject it, and you have a right to reject it as a county. So may I take issue on how it was done?
Yes.
Secondly, I think the challenge, what I see, is the fact that it is people reject it not on principle or content, but on political expediency. So in other words, if you're opposed to one faction or pro one faction, the counties which will lose to an extent, but because they are aligned to one side, they have to vote for it. So it's not really benefiting them. Yeah. The country which is really benefiting them a lot, but because they are aligned to one political faction, they reject it. So it's really political expediency rather than content, because the people who benefit out of it, majority of them I think can benefit, will benefit. But so I think we've not elevated ourselves to a sober debate whereby it is policy. Our political force is not as much where it ought to be. I mean, for goodness sake, we've been independent for over half a century. We should have gotten our act together to an extent. So I think our concern is the way it was done. So I'm for decent, okay? Argue against it or for it, but for goodness sake, you don't have to fight it. You don't have to do underhanded methods. You don't have to use Machiavellian tactics.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
To achieve a goal. So basically, what we have is a policy which is in itself it's an end to itself. And you know who? And the tragedy here is a tragedy. And just to finish on this point, the third point, the tragedy is that the people are the ones who suffer.
Yes.
You know, the people are the ones who suffer. If the NCIC just agreed that these guys will get their cars, they'll get their car grants. You know, but who suffers? It's the people. It's the people who will suffer in this thing.
Yeah. And Ojanga, as Daktari has rightfully put it, is that the County Assembly of Baringo exercised its democracy, but of course we have an issue on how they did it. We saw chairs flying, kicks, blows, and of course a couple of weeks ago, I remember NCIC did release a list of shame. Of course, I'm hoping that that clip will be ready so that we may see exactly what NCIC had to say and to warn politicians. But according to what happened in Baringo, what can you say?
I think generally there is a trend in this country in which goons are sponsored to force a particular political direction or political opinion. In the case of Baringo, obviously the chaos was masterminded to poke holes on the presidential candidacy of the Honorable Senator Gideon Moi. This is unfortunate. I mean, external forces going to the Baringo County Assembly to cause disruption, to sort of hit the candidate, to poke holes on the candidacy of Honorable Senator Gideon Moi. This is very unfortunate, and I think the institutions in this country mandated to protect the constitutional democratic order should be called upon to actually act. Your institution, for example, coming from the kind of perspective we've always had in the last 39 years, at the core of the kind of philosophy is peace, love, unity, one nation, one people, which is the foundation actually of upon which institutions like NCIC was built and BBI. So, and I need to commend the Honorable Senator Gideon Moi because he didn't act. You know, he let it be. Showed a lot of maturity, a lot of political maturity, a lot of dignity, and not sponsoring goons to counter that, which is expected of a leader. But nevertheless, I think these are matters that must be addressed by the institutions that are mandated to do so going forward, because we want to go towards 2022 in a peaceful manner, in a manner that is mature, that actually also goes to cement our cohesion and peace. In any case, when you have occurrences like that, the country suffers, the whole country, because capital itself actually fears instability. The signal we're sending by sponsoring goons is that we're not a stable country, and therefore investors are also getting scared. Therefore, we don't get capital to grow. Therefore, we cannot develop forward. So these are actions that help to stagnate the economy. It's not just about Gideon Moi, because when something like that happens, then the world gets to see. Then it's about Kenya. It's not anymore about Baringo. So I think it was very unfortunate, very wrong, and those who did that, sponsored that, should be taken to books.
Talking of taking action, last month NCIC did release a list of shame. Of course, it was welcomed. Other quarters really castigated it. Others said, yes, this is the way to go. I remember some of the names. Of course, we've seen them not only this year. We've seen them like Mike Sonko. We've seen some of the things that he used to do that really didn't foster that unity that we're talking about. Let's first of all listen to that clip as NCIC released a list of shame and of course lauded some of the legislators or leaders that we have in the country.
The Kenya's political history, names of politicians exhibiting bad
for that, but as soon as we rectify that technical problem, we will be getting back to that clip. And in case you just joined us, we're talking about unifying the country, state of politics in the country. Of course, they haven't been so smooth of late, and the political drumbeats keep on sounding much deeper and have a bigger noise each and every problem that we have in the country when it comes to politics. But perhaps to respond to that, some people have talked about the list being so not conclusive. It was not conclusive, and others talking about, okay, fine, we have the list, then what?
I think first and foremost, let me explain to you why, because the people who criticize it, and rightfully so, and I think it's good in our society to listen to dissenting views, like I said earlier.
Yeah.
Now, for those who are against it, they say, oh, it's just a list, these politicians don't care. Well, actually, they do. Some of them do, because I can use it, for example. Ngeno, first of all, responded the next day and then threatened to sue us. So if it's not really affecting you, then why are you suing us? You understand?
Yes.
But let me tell you why we did it. And people always focus on the shame part, but also there's a side to it which I actually wanted to focus on.
Yes.
You see, first of all, these people have to be called out. We have a culture whereby the reason this narrative continues, the politicians incite and abuse, and this is because it is celebrated. Okay? When Junet said what he said about Mohora, which Mohora did was wrong in Githurai, people in that meeting were cheering and clapping, and actually thought it was very funny. Okay? The same thing happened when in Sambweni, when the two politicians who actually we summoned to our places, when each was engaging in the rhetoric, the crowds actually were loving it.
And cheering.
it. Now, see, sometimes we have to sober up our country, say, guys, this is wrong. And see, we've gone so far to a point whereby when you insult or demean somebody or with disability or ethnic group where they come from, actually people think that is funny and people cheer it. So to say, no, we have to remind them that this is actually wrong. So it's an entry point of discussion. Like, we cannot accept it. Because if you reject such things, they will not do it. They play to the gallery. It's a supply and demand issue here. The reason politicians do that is because people actually expect it. People actually love it. People expect it. Yesterday we had a funeral.
Yes.
A church funeral. And for the first time in a big national funeral, there was no politics. I'm in a group, and in all the groups, and key leaders and your fellow editors were like, tomorrow we don't have headlines. Yeah, we don't have any headlines tomorrow. Yeah. Why? Because nothing really dramatic happened. Nothing bad happened that excites people. We want that. People were watching, people tuning the TVs to wait and see. Yes. Like, we want to see more drama.
More drama,
You understand? Yeah. So the reason we did that is because, guys, this is just wrong. And guess what? After doing it, if you realize, people have kind of toned it down. Politicians and we were adamant, especially in funerals. Our state, especially funerals, families should not allow politics in funerals. If you are invited to do something, condole with the family, say a story about the departed, and sit down. And these guys listened to what we were saying. So so that's why we did it. Okay. Secondly, we said actually clearly, if you appear there numerous times, actually, you'll be disbarred from running from office. Now, people who are saying, well, it's another year, another year, I can tell you it is there because Chapter 6 is very clear. Yes. Okay, understand? And we created a multi-agency task force together with the ACC, the IBC, the DCI, okay, that actually will be getting these guys. So actually, it has consequences. Why? Because the only thing that our local politician fears, you see, anywhere in the world, politicians fear to be arrested. Okay, anywhere in the world. I mean, just actually not even a scandal, a whiff of scandal. If you're caught texting something inappropriate, you resign. You resign, yeah. You understand? Here, no. Actually, if you kill somebody, you're celebrated. You get to the shoot somebody, yes. So if you arrest somebody, we arrested a leader.
This is partly Kenya's fault.
No, let me show you where I'm coming from. When you arrest people, we summoned somebody, one of our leaders in the Northeast, and I want to mention who, and the opponent came to me and said, why did you guys arrest him? Why are you summoning him? Because when you do that, you're giving him mileage in the ground. Yes. You make him more popular. You understand? Yes. So this is where it's coming from. So the only thing politicians fear is not being arrested, is not being summoned. They don't care, they even be taken to court. They don't fear that. The only thing they fear is the election part, the electorate, them being rejected. So what we can do is deny them that opportunity. Like, okay, you know what? If you really want to go that way, you don't fear getting arrested. You don't want to get. Thirdly, to why that was on the other part, the whole of fame, the list of fame. Yes. There are people who are doing excellent. Yeah. When there's opportunity to incite, they're not inciting. They're doing the opposite. They're going out of their way to really make sure the country is cohesive, especially in sensitive areas like Njoro. Nakuru is the tinderbox without political violence. Yes. And then the leadership in Nakuru, not just the one we listed, which you have a point where you said the list was not comprehensive. Yes. I agree with you. Yes. And next month we'll publish more. But the leadership in Nakuru, not just the Gadambi, Liz Chelude, the women rep, Kihika, the senator, I think Imani in Molo, yes. This is a gentleman for Bahati. I mean, the deputy speaker, I mean, they did a fantastic job, and they've gone out of their way, really, regardless of where they stand politically. When violence came, they were forthright, they were upfront, they went on the ground, they spoke to make sure there is peace. Same thing that we listed again. So, to us, what we're saying is, listen, this is wrong, but also we are saying, hey, this is what you can emulate. This is what standard it can be. You can actually do the right thing because there are many leaders actually doing the right thing in the face of an opportunity to incite.
And perhaps you can comment on that. Something also we saw, and especially during the barrier for Kisii Deputy Governor's father, the fight, the Silvana Sosoko and the Simba Arati. Somebody noted that, unfortunately, when the two leaders stood to talk, that is Deputy President William Ruto and former Premier Raila Odinga, they never castigated what just happened.
Very true.
They never touched anything on the same, but perhaps you can respond to that.
You know, there's a culture that has been developing in this country, and to some extent, the media also has been contributing towards that because they don't condemn such actions. What happened in Kisii, the burial in which MP So and Arati fought, is just but a continuation of a pattern that has been happening. We've had the fracas at Kano, we've had at Githurai, so it's just part of that. But even more worse, we've had politicians insulting the former First Lady. You know, in freedom of speech has limitations. You know, in certain countries, these persons who did that could have been arrested immediately, because she is independent of whether she is the mother of the current president. On her own right, she's part of our history. and you may not just wake up and attack her like that. You understand? Because this actually goes then to affect the future generations. If you don't respect the past, you can't respect the current and the future. You know, so that was very, very unfortunate. What happened in Kisii was very unfortunate. I think, and I still insist, the institutions that are mandated to protect our constitutional order and democratic order need to be given more teeth to arrest and to prosecute, because the prosecution path of such actions is so cumbersome, so convoluted that they never end in court. So they never end in jail. So they end up repeating the same thing.
And
so
becoming even more famous.
Actually, do you know the average court case in our country is 5 years? 5 years. It used to be 7 years a while back before Constitution said 5 years. So by the time you arrest Angeno, for example, when he did that, we arrested him. When Sudi did that, we arrested him. He was in police cell for like a whole week, of course, and he was really apologetic, said, I'm going to repeat it again. He said, please guys, release me. But here's reality. By the time his case is hard and determined, it will be 5 years. So what we are also doing also behind the scenes is create a part of the multi-agency task force is also hook up with the judiciary and fast track these cases with a special magistrate, whereby because of the stakes are extremely high. We're talking about the security and the future of our country. This is a national security issue. We say let's allow us to fast track these cases rather than go through the backlog. It's like a traffic jam. So if you find here, you have to wait until this one is cleared for you to move. So we are asking for a special lane. Can you give us an express lane rather than go through the regular traffic? Because you don't help in the country either by going through regular traffic. So it's going to happen. Now, in what my friend has said, which is true, institutions, you know what shocks me, beginning with the parties themselves. The other day you saw a party discipline the members. Okay? 6 senators. Where we went the previous times were MCAs. For associating or with another political party or doing that. Okay, that's fine. That's within their right. But what actually, to me, I cannot stand with any political party is when their own members incite others, advocate for violence, fund violence. They don't take disciplinary action. You will take action when somebody is with another party, but when actually they break the law and your own party constitution, because I've read some of the constitution, actually it's forbidden to do that. Not just about you associating with another party, there's certain things you ought to do. There's a code of conduct they have. So the only way they break their own party code of conduct, they break the law, our penal code, but there is no party whatsoever in this country. Indeed. Not even one. Neither the OLPP, which now we are having a discussion with them, saying, guys, we got to rein these guys in to say, you know what, you disciplined, you are suspended, or just like these guys were taken out, they're taken out, because when you incite, when Jose Mora does what he did, is worse than associating or wearing some cap to a party that you don't agree with. Because this is people's life. That day in Githurai, somebody's head was cracked. They had to be taken to Aga Khan. Somebody was died. You understand? It is people's lives at stake, and then you don't discipline that person, but when that person engages with another party, then there's a party issue. And it's both parties, it's ODM, it's Jubilee, name them. They all have their responsibility.
And we are seeing the same thing, because with all due respect, Daktari, the NCIC just released a list. And of course, they were all leaders, unfortunately, but we haven't seen even some of the parties, these leaders. They come from a certain party, right? By just naming and shaming them, I don't think it was kind of enough.
There's hearsay institutions. We are one of them. Okay, ORPP is there. they are the ones who deals with political parties and discipline and all that stuff. So we cannot overstep our mandate to go and deal with party issues because there's an institution, just like us, who that is their mandate. And we actually have to talk behind the scenes with them. And so, you know what, guys, we have to rein in it. So how hopefully they can transfer the same message to the parties and tell them, you know what, if this happens. But let me just say this. At the end of the day, I agree with the institutions that are that, but I think we forget that we as a people, Kenyans, all Kenyans, individually, collectively, have a responsibility. You understand? So we'll do our part. But see, in an ideal situation, we don't need to be there as a commission.
No, absolutely, but you see,
we don't need to be there.
You see, the thing is this. I mean, you have parties suspending. Jubilee just suspended it. Some of its senators.
Yes.
This has no consequence. Because
they're still senators.
They're still senators.
They're still affiliated.
The process of removing them from being senators is more convoluted, more complex. You see, and even your organization naming and shaming, these people don't get ashamed, even if you name them. So this again also has no consequence. I think, like I said before, these institutions need to be given teeth. Teeth to arrest, prosecute, and jail if found guilty. You know. That's all what needs to be done. I mean, just by naming a list of people.
And of course, in Muranga, Keno, we also had some skirmishes a while ago. And of course, yes, but of course, we never saw any names appear.
Actually, Muranga, let me say something about Muranga. Because of what happened in Muranga and Gilderay, there's a special investigation going on. That was in the purview of the DCI, because of criminal activity that happened. So they're investigating. We're aiding in the investigation. And that's why it will take a while, because what also we see, and you know very well, there's a threshold to evidence that comes to court. Sometimes you arrest somebody, and there's a pressure to arrest because they just did something wrong, apparently it seems, and then they see the judge and the court doesn't work the way we do, the public court of opinion. So, and also you see some of these guys getting acquitted very easily. So rather than give them that quick avenue to be acquitted, so we say, you know what, it has to be a robust investigation, a concrete evidence, it's ironclad. So when these guys go to court, okay, we know for sure they will get convicted. Because when you also work with the DPP, they tell you, okay, it's one thing for you to say, it looks like they say it, but you know what, you go to court, there has to be clear evidence. So for Githurai, and Muranga, I can tell you there is actually still ongoing investigation. I can't comment much about it. But what I can say is this, for sure, those who were behind it, and it's really on both sides. You know, sometimes, as much as you say, I agree with you, they should be prosecuted. The moment you arrest somebody, you're always accused of, oh, you're taking sides. You're targeting a certain clique of people. Yesterday, you saw two leaders getting arrested: Deputy Governor of Kisii, and Osoro himself. And you saw what the criticism was. Now, I don't know. Personally, I don't know why they're arrested. So I really can't comment on that. But you see, I personally, I can't comment on that. But you see, and the comment, even before people knew where they're arrested, like where they're being targeted because. Now, if I myself, in my position, I didn't know why these people why do you purport them to know why they're arrested? You understand? Maybe there's clear evidence of them as they being accused. I haven't seen it. I will have probably access later to see the information and why they were arrested, but I haven't. So neither can you can't say well, they're arrested because of this. Neither can you say they're arrested because of this, because for us, the authorities haven't really given us clear directive as to why they're arrested.
There are some cases where the evidence is so clear. For example, the fight between Simbarati and Osoro. I mean, this was captured on TV live. So you cannot say there is no evidence. You understand? And none of them has been arrested for assault or not. You see that?
We just see their names.
The whole nation watched.
Of course.
The whole nation watched it happen. But the institutions that are supposed to act did nothing. So that is encouraging such acts to continue happening because they need to act immediately so that the whole country knows the next person that may be predisposed to do certain things like that knows that if I do it, I end up in jail. If two people fought on the streets of Nairobi today, the police will arrest them. They will be taken to court and taken to jail. But now, two politicians fighting in front of the deputy president, fighting in front of the former prime minister, with all the dignitaries present, on live TV.
In a burial ceremony.
In a burial ceremony.
It's not even a political.
In a burial ceremony. And then they let go.
And Ojanga, you are a political strategist. Looking at all the names perhaps that NCIC shamed, there's a common denominator. These are very young politicians. What is happening to the clique of young politicians that we have?
A culture is developing in this country in which, number one, you have to indulge in corruption, you know, to show off. Number two, you need to hire goons to show your strength. Number three, you have to make a lot of noise, which lets to be considered a leader. So if we are not careful as a country, our definition of leadership will tend to go more towards crooks. So to be a leader in Kenya means you must be crooked enough, even kill, be involved, do bad things. You know, that gives you visibility, because that's what the society is now beginning to enjoy. And that's why I said the media must also play its role by either condemning and giving these people some sort of blackout.
Actually, and still on the media, perhaps, okay, fine, you can respond to that first.
Actually, I think it was 3 years ago, newspaper did an article, if you remember, it's called The Rise of Bad Boy Politics. At the time Mike was getting elected, so Babu getting elected. A while back there used to be this hope that, you know, the young leaders will do better than the previous ones, especially the Moi era leaders, and to me it's the biggest disappointment. And I'm part of this young leadership, and so it's a collective responsibility of my generation. I think it's embarrassing. Let me just to say that that's the truth. But let me give you context, okay, to this, so people understand societal framework that we live in. I think it was 4 years ago. I think the Aga Khan University did a survey, and it was published widely, that 64%, I think it was 64%, if you remember the number correctly, of young people, they did a survey that they says they didn't care or didn't mind how they got rich, even if it's stealing, doesn't really matter. You know, it is okay. 64% agree that the end is justified by the means. So there is just by the end. So it doesn't really matter. Now you see this 64% of people, that was like almost 4 or 5 years ago, the ones who are voting now. And what do you expect? Of course, our moral compass is broken. Okay. Our value systems to which we espouse in our constitution is non-existent. Okay. Therefore, let's not forget, bad people, I always say this, cannot elect good leaders. Neither can good people elect bad leaders. What you see of these young leaders is a reflection of us. They were elected. These MPs were elected by people like us, like you and me. Okay, so they're a reflection of who we are. So as much as we can point a finger, we start with us. Then, like he said, the media also plays a big part in this. Yes. Because, like this group, the editors were complaining they don't have a headline tomorrow. So we always want to sensationalize. On the list of shame, and we gave, it is always the focus, not the list of fame, the people who've done good. It is the criminals, the thugs, the people who are, and that's we sensationalize. So it's society, the culture that produces and elects these leaders, and then because, of course, you're in the business, also you have to be in business. Ratings have to be considered. You have to sell newspapers. People have to watch your news. If it's boring, then no one's going to watch you.
But not as a cost. Not as a cost.
And perhaps, Ojanga, you can respond to that. I remember in 2007, 2008, during the post-election violence, the media actually played a key role in fanning the violence, and we also even had some Joshua Sang was even arrested and taken to The Hague for the same. But as you look at the media now, do you believe that we are doing far much better than we have been doing, or as Daktari rightly put it, our editors are looking for that juicy story?
I don't think so. In East Africa we have real examples what the media can do to a society in terms of ability to destroy society. In the genocide of Rwanda, the Interamwe relied very much on radio colony. right?
Yeah.
Without Radio Milcolin, there would not have been genocide in Rwanda. So the only difference is that what we experience here is slightly milder. We have situations where the former governor of Nairobi gets to a stage, right? Insults the president and his family, and it becomes part of news. You know, this should be given total blackout. You know, but you know, oh, the former governor has taken on the president, and we derive joy from that. I think, like I said, the institutions we have, the institutions that actually respond for our culture, what we may or may not do. These people are on government payroll and also live from our tax money. They must do their job. They must be able to enforce what is valid here, what should be valid within the cultural context of the Republic of Kenya, not. You know, that way we can shape a society. There are a lot of things in many countries. I went to school in Germany, and partially I was in Switzerland. There's certain things that even the normal common man cannot even afford to say in front of two people. But in Kenya, the most prominent people use the most vulgar language that is then broadcasted on TV when kids are seeing. So that helps to perpetuate the culture of irresponsibility, recklessness, and all sorts of things. You know, it derives, denies our kids to develop as kids with dignity and responsibility and all that, you know, and also denies the future generation from respecting the basic laws of our constitution. Because if our elders, the people we elect, our leaders don't respect, why should we? You know, so this conversation, I suppose, Dr. Makori, this needs to be taken a lot more further, because this is even more worse than corruption. If you corrupt the morals of a society, then you open the Pandora's box for the occurrence of many more other things.
And perhaps to add on that, during the 2007-2008, we didn't have as many radio stations as we have. We didn't have a robust social media platform like the one we have right now. So in case we play the card that we played in 2007, the consequences could be dire. So what, as a commission, are you doing to actually tame those media houses or media platforms that are offering an opportunity for leaders to perpetuate hate? I remember Interior Cabinet Secretary talking about, Dr. Matiang'i talking about he's not happy with some of the radio stations in the north, especially looking at the skirmishes that we had in Marsabit. We also have some issues in Mandera. We also have some issues there.
Okay, thanks. Actually, because I was going to comment on that.
Yes.
So to that end,
yes,
the first week of March, we're meeting with all editors in this country, Editors Guild, through the Editors Guild and the Media Council of Kenya, and the CAK. So we've called in all these bodies together, but mostly our target is the editors, because they are the ones who determine what goes on air, what's printed. Like you said, you go to a rally, there's 2 hours of people talking, but you look for the most controversial.
Exactly.
You know, that is what, because I've been to these rallies, because we monitor them, we're there on the ground, and it's sometimes 3-4 hours, people talk, but you pick the most incendiary one to broadcast. So
the most unpleasant thing that happened in the rally.
Now we have social media.
Yeah. So what we are doing, and I'll go to social media. Let's begin with traditional media. We're meeting all the editors to their guild and the Media Council of Kenya. We don't want to talk to the owners per se, because the editors are determine content that goes on the air. And just to remind them, have a discourse that they have a responsibility towards a peaceful and cohesive country. That they ought to work what we call responsible journalism. How is that? We saw towards the end of the election cycle in the U.S., whereby they what we call the broadcast channels in the U.S., CBS, ABC, NBC, the CNN will give, on the press conference with Trump in the White House, they'll give him a blackout, especially when he goes to demagoguery and ranting about crazy things. They actually black him out. So the only people who, air that was Fox News. And that actually did help. And we saw how it helped him so by these people. There are things you can't say. If you want air, speak soberly. So that's what the reason we're doing. Secondly, we signed an MOU with CAK, the Commission Authority of Kenya. What we don't understand is 90% of incitement happens online. Yes. Forget about KC, politicians saying one or two words.
Yes.
90%.
The Facebook.
Yes,
yes,
is online. If I was to give you the report that we get most of the time early in the morning, in hotspots areas like Marsabit, Isiolo, and you see what happens in these WhatsApp groups, Facebooks, it is dangerous. What are we doing? One of the things that we're doing with the CAK is be able to communicate now officially to Facebook and Twitter to ban these groups, because they're literally endangering national security. And the content is there, it's very clear. It is, I mean, and the propaganda is there, is dangerous. And what we see is what happened in the US. There's this echo chamber now they exist in, like QAnon, whereby it's conspiracy. You know, we say what we want to hear, and incite one another against, especially in northern Kenya, against another group, ethnic group. They say these guys, something small happens. And believing by the time you know what the truth is, it has been distorted and distorted and distorted. And as we speak, you know the danger is, people understand the danger is, that's why we have to shut them down. It's not to inhibit free speech. I am the biggest proponent of free speech. I am. But our Constitution is very clear, chapter 4. It says only to an extent where what you say does not infringe propaganda to war and incitement. You understand? And people, yesterday, people died in Marsabit. 3 days people to that died. Every day, people, and it doesn't get to news. Sometimes, which I guess is a good thing. But there are people on the ground, they know it must have been, they know when people are dying, and it's pushed in these media groups. So we shut them down. Those ones have to be shut down.
You're saying that moving forward, we see the situation that we saw in America, Facebook, Twitter. They
basically banned Trump. Yes, they moved Trump because he was a danger to national security. So there are certain groups that we are banning in this country, not because we don't want free speech. It's because they are a threat to national security, and they will be banned.
We are waiting.
But this. I mean, it's one thing for Facebook or Twitter to ban them, but also we also have capability locally to track these people. You understand? I mean, I think the institution of the NCIC has the capability to track these people and bring them to book. In what happened for Twitter, in the case of Twitter and Facebook with Trump, they blocked him because he's got following which goes worldwide. It's usually very difficult for business enterprise like Facebook to focus on a group in Omabe, for example. But it's in the jurisdiction of the institutions that have been mandated to enforce certain behavior within a country to do so. So I think we need to develop mechanisms that would hinder such occurrences. And that capability and ability to do so does really exist.
No, it does. And sometimes people don't, we always say we're not doing much. We always accuse of being a toothless, which is, and let me tell you to that. Let me tell you, you know what we're doing? There's 450 cases right now we're pursuing.
Really?
Out of that, 200 are already in court. This is quite low-level people who are inciting on social media. You understand? Like you said, we have capability to track. These guys think they can hide under anonymity. Yes. You know, so it's true, and we're doing it. And I can tell you, we've expended resources across the country, and sometimes the guys go in hiding, and we've been tracking them. We've arrested them. Of course, we don't announce every time we arrest them. Like we arrested some little folk out there in Isiolo because he's a nobody. But you see, that nobody is really causing serious damage to the community or the community.
It's only nobody in the content that is not been given visibility through the media, but the impact of his actions are more grave.
Very true. than even some of these politicians. That's why we have, right now, as we speak, we have 200 active cases in court. 200. A majority of them, it is these guys who people don't know, but they're really pushing hate and rhetoric, and some of them
we will have a problem if we take 5 years to prosecute them, and we still have other pending, and we don't know if some other politicians might decide today I can speak the way I want, because looking at what happened, and especially in Kisii, that was really bad. And we saw it, everybody saw it, but we never even saw these people being arrested. That really dents a lot when you say that we are going to act. And you can see...
They were making press statements immediately after the fight.
Yes, yes, they were making it, and they might even become even more. You're looking at the internet, you see that their names have been Googled even more after that.
They're trending.
Yes, they're trending.
I agree. You know, this has to be a multi-agency task force, and Kenya also needs to the law. What they did was they should be charged under public breaking the Public Order Act.
Yes.
Okay. Both of them to an extent. Well, one more largely. And if the ideal way is for Arachi to charge to press charges of assault against Soros because he was attacked. He was literally on the stage talking. So that is until he pressed the charges.
Yes,
it really had these guys. I will hide. Okay, there's nothing we can do, but there's nothing they can do because two things happened. First of all, there was a serious breach of security. A serious breach of security. If you really understand how security operates, especially where VIPs are involved, there's a very serious breach of security where the deputy president was and the former prime minister was.
Yes.
Okay. And they had to bring, if you saw those clips, they had to bring a special contingent of security,
yes.
Which is always behind the scenes. These guys are never visible for a very good reason. You only see these guys with suits and earpieces like yours. But for those guys to come in, I don't want to say much, but something was very, very, very wrong. That's the last resort when it comes to security for VIPs, especially the head of state, the deputy head of state. But also they broke the public order. Okay, so they should have been charged that. And the only person who can do that is the police. The only person who should arrest those guys are the police DCI. So why they don't, that is up to them. But as far as the act itself, the physical act is itself concerned, the people who should have acted, and they can still act if it pushed, would be our police.
There's a country, this country, which every major politician has got a group of attack dogs, political attack dogs. And as you said before, political parties should be able to actually punish their own members when they do wrong.
Discipline them.
But now these people have got special positions within these political parties because they protect the political leader. They're the ones that do certain things that the political leader may not do publicly. True. So basically they're saying that like attack dogs, like German Shepherd dogs, they go to bite the opponents. These are the things that institutions like yours should be able to address. I mean, talk to the political leadership and say you cannot have a group of youth wings, or violent youth that cause mayhem, that fight. The other time when Honorable Senator Gideon was going to be sworn in as a elder. He woke up and fought hundreds of them on the streets. Who paid for that? Nobody's ever asked. Who paid these youths? You know, somebody somewhere didn't want that to happen. So unemployed youth are brought together, paid, to do certain things. It was very fortunate that he didn't act. Otherwise, there would have been blood. Maybe there would have been actually assault on the Honorable Senator himself. Because at some point, one of them actually climbed us on the vehicle with a rungu. You know, it was very scary. So these are things that we must condemn as a society and punish, you know. And when we do that, it won't happen again. Because our children will grow knowing very well this is wrong. You know?
And perhaps before we go for a break, I remember we mentioned names like Fafi MP, Abdi Karim Osman Mohammed, Ojoro MP, Charity Kadambi as the two leaders who have really shown that they really want to boost Chapter 6 of integrity and accountability. What more can be done to encourage? We only have, the list had only what, two? But we need all the leaders to be on this list.
What we're doing next month, because it's going to be a monthly list, we're publishing the more comprehensive list. So the new list is coming. Should be next month. Okay. Because we just published one the other. This was there. Now, what can be done? Just before actually what can be done, let me just briefly, if you allow me, just very briefly, talk about Abdi Karim. Abdi Karim was in a rally in Garissa. there's serious conflict between Garissa and Isiolo. And he's a Garissa MP, Fafi, and he was being goaded by the crowd to incite them concerning the issue of Isiolo. Because the interior CS has just removed chiefs from Isiolo and taken it back to Garissa. They had come from Garissa for years. They said, you know, guys, go back, we have to have order. So Garissa people are in fury, the leaders are in fury, everybody's upset. So everybody, every leader who came there was breathing hell and fury, saying how they'll do this and this. So his turn comes, and they're goading him, and he said, no.
I'm not going to do that.
No, you're not going to do that. He didn't call them out. He said, listen, if it's going to take for me to incite people for me to be elected, I'd rather not be elected. There is almost no leader in this country who can say that publicly to a crowd that is hundreds of thousands that is goading you to tell them what you want them to hear. It takes tremendous courage to some people say, I'm not going to incite you. And first of all, what you're saying is wrong. Not only that, he said, listen, I in my country promote diversity and inclusion and cohesion. As a matter of fact, he says, I have chiefs from this community, because they have clan issues. He says, I have chief from the Gare, from the Godias. And I will not allow you guys to tell me to jump into this bandwagon of hating. Yes, the Boranas. You understand?
But most of the times,
unfortunately, we're going to revisit that on how we can encourage more leaders, of course, to be on the list of fame, not a list of shame. But we'll be right back. In case you just joined us, this is News Check, and we are looking at the political divide, of course, fostering a national cohesion, unity, and of course, maintaining law and order in all factions, including media, politicians, and just Kenyans. We just need to be one. I'm joined by Dr. Danvas Makori, who is an NCIC commissioner, and Tom Ojanga, who is a political strategist. And of course, we will be getting back to this deeper conversation. And of course, we will be looking at what has been happening in politics. We saw the change of Senate leadership, and of course, some parties also disciplining their members. We'll be right back.